Okay, so I'm going to try and make another of these. Whoopsie, this is a cell phone stand. This one here, I've got some lessons learned with it. It, I didn't let it cure long enough, but it's still quite lovely. So these are the molds, the silicone mold that I'm going to mix the resin up. I am wearing an N95 mask just because of the smell, but anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the resin. This is the part 1, which is resin. Shoot. Here. There we go. Put that off. They're to be equal parts. So I don't think I need a whole lot. Last time I made way too much. So I think I'll just somewhere around maybe a little more. My hand is shaking. Because it would be really bad if I didn't make enough. So I'm going to maybe put in about that much. And then part 2, I just want to make sure that's enough. Maybe a little tiny bit more. Having lots of isopropyl alcohol around to wipe off some of the stickiness is helpful. Alright, let's pop this bad boy off. This is the hardener, so this is part 2 when you're mixing this stuff up, and you really just need to, it doesn't, you can see when it comes out it's not as thick as the other stuff, as the resin, but it does have to be equal measures, so I'm just going to put a little more in until I think it's about same. Oh my god, I can't see. Nope, a little more is needed. A little more. Okay. So then when you're convinced that you've got the right amount of equal parts, you can pour one into the other. Because you have about 3 minutes to mix. You have to mix consistently for about 3 minutes. And stuff is super expensive, so you don't want to waste. You want to use every little bit. Right, so yeah, so just kind of stir with a big, I just use a big popsicle stick. It's a really big one. And I've already chosen the colors that I want to make this one. You can see this one here, I used kind of like lemon yellow, and then I had some really pretty pink that I used. It was like a, it was a fuchsia pink. And then I used a copper in it as well. And then I did have some iridescent, I had sparkles and stuff, but I'm not going to put the sparkles in it this time. I want to make something that's less glittery. And I really should be timing this. I'm just looking at the recording here. It's already been about a minute and a bit. And you just keep scraping down the sides and the bottom, making sure you... Alright, so I think I've got about 3 minutes in there for sure. Feels right. So now what I'm going to do is I will probably use a little bit of clear in the molds itself, but I'm particularly interested in some of that, so I'll leave a little bit in this cup. But I really want the, you can see I've got, I don't know if you can see that well or not, but I have 3 cups that are 1 ounce cups, and then I have one that's I think 3 ounces, and this one here has pink. It's kind of like a bubblegum pink. So I'm actually going to pour a good amount of this resin into that one. And then I have a fuchsia pink. I'll put some in there. And then I have like a whitey silvery color. Put that in there. And then I'm going to use some copper for contrast, just to have a little bit of contrast. Not a lot, just want to have a little, and I'll put a little more in here, and then I do have a little bit left over for the white. And now, making these things there's a lot of mixing. I should learn to use my left hand. You can see the color is actually starting to become the color that you want, and if you feel that you'd like it darker, you can actually add more of the mica, which are in these little bags that I got from Crystal Resin. But I think I like this color quite well. But again, you're really going to make sure it's mixed in perfectly perfect. It's going to be hard for me to tell how this color is going to look in these pink silicone resin trays, but don't care. Just felt like it'd be nice to do something pink. I'm trying to just experiment with the colors of these micas, and then make some interesting phone holders, cell phone holders, or iPad. We have our mini iPad that fits quite nicely on that size mold. Well, this is quite dark actually. Be quite interesting for contrast. I probably won't put too much in, maybe just a tiny bit, but I think you can see as I stir that up, it's really getting to be quite. And maybe it wouldn't have been as dark if I didn't add as much of the mica powder, but I don't know. I added what I added. There's probably a way to make it softer, but I'm not interested in exploring that option tonight. Again, just scraping the sides, making sure I've got all the... I probably should have put the resin in first and then added the mica powder. I don't know. Still experimenting with this stuff. Alright, so that's that. This next one is the whitey silvery color. And it really does just, it's really neat how, when you put these colors together, how interesting they look. Alright, so I'll keep stirring my stuff up as we are on a bit of a time clock. As I was saying, you only have about 45 minutes total. But again, this is, it's not clear, it is opaque. You can see the whiteness of it. So it will look nice against crystal clear, crystal resin, right? All right, and now we'll just have the pink to mix up. So obviously you wouldn't want to have too many colors to have to blend if you're, you know, if you kind of are working within a specific time frame. Oh, this is going to be a pretty color. And they do have a lot of shimmer to them. I do have some stuff that I probably could add for just shimmer, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to make this one as deblinged as possible, and I think it's going to be gorgeous regardless. And then I'll have to start, might want to end up maybe making one every couple of, like every 3 or 4 days, because the mold, what I learned from this last one with the yellow one is you can tell if you look really closely, it's got a bit of a curve to it. I also had to do a lot of repair work to it because I over poured, and there was too much over pour on the sides of it, so I had to get it like a beveling. My Wade's got a jewelry maker there, so he is a jewelry maker and repair person, whatever, and he has like a little, I don't know what you call it. It's like a beveler or something. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, it's a little drill that allowed me to get rid of all the excess resin and sort of straighten everything up. So there's a lot of work to that one there, but also I didn't let it set. I let it set only for a day and a half on the in here, and then I put the weight of the iPad mini on it, and it was not good. It bent it, but then I was able to save it a little bit, but it's still got a bit of a curve to it, so it's got its character. All right, so I think this one's a pretty color too. And when you compare it to this lighter pink, I think it's going to be lovely. All right, so that's that in a nutshell. Everything's mixed up nice. I do have to plug in my heat gun because I will be using the heat gun to get rid of the air bubbles and move it around a bit. Oh shoot. I just got rid of the light there, but I need to turn that light back on. If I can. Here's to hoping my table is still fairly level. Right. That stuff out of the way, that out of the way. All right, so the plan is what to do. So I think I'll start with pouring in a tiny bit of the copper. That's not really a tiny bit, but it is a bit. And I'm just doing a little weird design. And truly, here's to hoping I've got enough paint made. That's the big thing. I'm thinking I do, but I don't know. One never knows. I bought some butterflies, like plastic paper butterflies at the dollar store the other day. And because I wouldn't mind making, I've seen some artists. So that's pretty much all of my pink, this color pink anyway. With the butterflies, what they've done is they've done like one coat of resin on something like this, And then they've waited about 8 hours, and then they added the butterfly. Like these little, aren't they cute? I mean, they're quite big, but anyway, I'm thinking about doing something like that at a future one. Add the butterfly in about 6 or 8 hours later, and then you pour over that, and then yeah, and then you have a nice butterfly. There they go. There goes the butterflies. I mean, you can get into doing designs and stuff. I'm not really that creative yet with these. I'm trying to just see what colors look like together in particular. And of course, I can make any designs I want. Stop me. Just try and stop me. Alright, so that's that. I do have a little bit of the copper left, but I'm not going to use any more of that. I find it's too overpowering. If I'm going to fill these up, I want to use this darker pink, which I think is really cool. Like I said, the last one I did, I put too much stuff in, and it ended up, oh my god, the work it took to fix it, yeah, no, not worth it. Especially if someone's going to buy something, you want to make sure it's lovely. And I'm just moving everything to the sides, like making sure it's as level as possible, because I really don't know without. Resin is self leveling, so that's good. But I think I could probably put a little more of this guy in here. Alright, so now I don't even have a use for any of this. I think I'm pretty full. Alright, so there's lots of bubbles in here, which you may or may not be able to see, so I'm just going to turn on the heat gun and blow them. Get rid of all the bubbles. And there's a lot. I'm going to move this all over just a tiny bit because my cord of this is not quite long enough to reach this table. Now this is pretty cool because what's happening is the resin's warming up from the heat gun and it's moving, making yet another design. So I got a lot of the copper right here on the end, but I'd like to kind of maybe move it away from one specific spot. But it appears that I have used enough resin. Let's see, the plastic that's on, this is a silicone mat, so it's okay, but the plastic right beside that is melting when I hit it, the heat gun. Woohoo! Oh, this is gonna be pretty. that one. So now I'm just going to slide this one over so I can address all the bubbles. The video's at 26 minutes, so sorry about that. I think it'll be, this is pretty much done. Other than, like I said, I just need to, again, there's a really dark coppery spot right there. I just want to push it up into the center. Moving it in circular motion just to make sure that it doesn't splash. But oh, it's going to be pretty. And again, I'm glad I didn't use too much of the copper because it does, I wanted contrast, but I didn't want it to be too much to the point where it's like, ooh. I wanted the pinks to really be the highlight. And I think we've achieved that. So, I could probably do some further swirling. What I'll do is I'll probably come back to this in like an hour. And as it starts to harden, and actually you can feel, I know there's heat coming off it from the gun, but I really like having the little zingies and wing dingies. Alright, so, oh my goodness, there's more, there is more bubbles there. So, but what I'm going to do is carefully go behind the camera and try not to knock it over. And get my torch. And just quickly torch those little bubbles. Oops, you can see I burn. Sometimes if you get too close, you burn it a bit. So hopefully I didn't ruin it, but I don't think so. It just has a funky smell. So what I'm worried about is the first one that I did down here didn't have enough. So I'm thinking, what color is this one? Oh, that's the pink one. So maybe I add more pink. Because I really want to make sure like this bottom part is the base. And so you need to have a stable base to support your phone or whatever is there. So I'm just going to ensure that that's the case for both. I found both times I did this part, it's quite stable, but right here what happens is you've got there's a bar here, which is actually this I call it the peekaboo part, where you actually tuck the bottom part in to get your leverage. And just want to make sure I have enough resin that's solid. I think so. Again, very disappointed I used a little too much of the copper. And I didn't even use that much, but anyway. Alright, so that's done. So, I'm probably going to do something with this stuff so I don't waste it. And thank you very much.